Back with Charles Payne, CEO of Wall Street Strategies and Fox Business Network contributor, and Eric Bolling, host of Follow the Money on the Fox Business Network. I want to ask you guys two questions. One, at what point or what is a trigger that you look at and say, America, batten down the hatches? Because here it comes. This thing's going to spiral out of control.
And give you my assessment, Glenn, real quick.
And then I want to know what the average person should do.
See that $5 gallon of gasoline, $300 billion a year shipped right overseas. Consumers, that'll kill them. It'll make. By the way, when that goes up, everything goes up. Food goes up, wheat goes up, corn goes up. Cotton right now is the highest price it's traded since before the Civil War, including the cotton shortages during the Civil War.
So $5 a gallon gasoline, you say, look out.
That's your trigger right there.
And what do you do about it? What does the average person do?
I'm telling you, I've said it for years. You and I, Glenn, we've been talking about it here. Buy gold. It's a real stuff. It's a real deal.
It's not everybody can afford that anymore.
I don't disagree with the trigger. It could even be 450. I don't disagree with the trigger. And it's not even the numbers that Eric talked about. It's the psychological. Nothing affects Americans more than high gas prices. When they go fill up and they notice that instead of spending a 20, I'm spending a 50. Now, having said that, I love energy. This is the topic. You know, I happen to love coal more than anything else. I think you got to own some coal in a portfolio. But I also think ride out the market until we get to that point. You know, I know you're defensive, and I know a lot of people have done that, but people have already missed the most incredible rally of the last 2 years, perhaps in their lifetime. I think it can continue. I think we can win this war.
Here's what I'm saying. It's one thing to talk about, you know, with Neil, he's talking to the business people, talking to the regular person on the street. They got money in 401k, and they're lucky to make anything else to have any kind of cash.
Look what's going on, Glenn. There are 14.5 million people out of work. The labor market, bad. The housing market, you said it yourself, prices continue down. Two of the three markets, the only thing not going down is the stock market. If you have $4 to $5 in gasoline, here's my recommendation, America. You have $4 to $5 gasoline coming, and they're saying, you know, this means real trouble. Have some extra food on your shelves. Make sure, because that will mean job losses will be coming your way.
Oh, I think you're going to have 6 months worth of cash.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back in just a second. Personal note tonight, I have to share with you this. Sometimes I can't believe my life. I grew up in my father's bakery when I was a kid, and I never went to college. My dad never went to college. For generations, everybody in my family was a baker. I took one college class one semester. It's all I could afford. I had some success during early adulthood, but I squandered it with drinking and just being a general ass. By the time I met my current wife, Tanya, I had lost everything. And when Tanya finally gave up and said she would marry me, she thought that I would probably be a garbage man. That was my potential, and quite honestly, we were both pretty excited about that being our potential. I find myself in remarkable times, standing with you in these incredible historic times. I have been pondering some things, some of the hardest things that I've ever had to deal with in my life for several months. About 8 months ago, as I was beginning to think some things through, I wanted to meet with this man, Reverend Billy Graham. But when I called, you know, you just don't call the Reverend Billy Graham and say, hey, I want to meet you. They said, nah, he doesn't think it's time. Well, time passed. About 2 weeks ago, I was standing in the hallway with somebody, and I said, I just have to talk to Billy Graham. Well, 2 days later, a phone call came in, and it was Reverend Billy Graham. Said he wanted to meet with me. I guess the time was right now. We had scheduled an hour for last Saturday, and it went on for 3 hours. When I went to Billy Graham's mountaintop home in North Carolina, I really didn't expect that I would be having Chinese food, chopsticks and all, with him, but I did. I spoke of a growing darkness and evil. He spoke of a greater growth of light. I remember growing up as a kid, watching him on TV in the summer in my grandparents' house. They'd have his crusade on, and like most kids, I guess, I wasn't really into the message necessarily. But I was struck by the sheer size of it. I've been thinking a lot about those religious Billy Graham crusades. You don't see them on television anymore. I can't even imagine them happening in America like that anymore, let alone being covered by a network or on television. I wanted to say to you, look how far we've come, but It's actually, look how far we have drifted. The thing is, the world is changing, and the world can change overnight. It already has. As all of these things change, and the pressure on Israel and America and you grows greater and greater, what holds your arms up? Who is holding your arms up? I would urge you tonight to realize, search out in your own mind, do your own homework, and dare I say, pray on what is important to you. Decide for yourself whether the perfect storm is here, whether it even exists, if the rain has begun to fall, and if this is a storm unlike the world has seen in a long, long time, if ever. You, as a citizen, not only of this country, but of all mankind, have a responsibility, and you have an important role to play. If you're a teacher or a preacher, you tell the truth. You tell the children and those in your congregation that there are consequences for all of your actions. If you're a broadcaster, you do your own homework and tell the truth. If you're a guy like me with the potential of being a garbage man one day, really find out what you believe and hold on to your convictions. Reverend Graham said one thing to me as he left, or as I left him. He said, "Glenn, don't worry. You know how the last chapter ends. You know the story. And people are good. We just have to remind them of that." I reminded him of something that he had said earlier in the conversation. He was so full of peace. He said, "I'm really not worried about death. It's just that whole dying thing that has me worried." America, things will be increasingly tough in the coming days, but it will be okay if we can just be our higher selves and stick together. We have much more on this on Friday. Thank you, Billy Graham, for the inspiration. Here are the union members that are protesting me. That's fine. I want you to know, as union members, I'll stand with you. I just won't stand with this guy, the guy you're standing with, who is standing with this guy and this guy and this guy, who are standing with these people. From New York.